The diplomatic chamber aboard the Galactic Council's flagship Harmony hummed with the soft blue glow of energy fields and the whispered conversations of a dozen alien species. Ambassador of the Empire adjusted her flowing ceremonial robes as she watched the massive display the third planet of a yellow star system. Earth, they called it, a death world by any civilized standard. "The humans have been observing our vessels for 3 rotations now," reported Captain, his chitinous carapace clicking as he shifted nervously. "They show no signs of responding to our peaceful overtures." Elongated fingers traced patterns in the air, a gesture of contemplation among her people. The humans had been a puzzle since first contact protocols began. Their planet teemed with impossible life forms, weather patterns that would kill most galactic citizens, and gravity that crushed the unprepared. Yet somehow, these bipedal mammals not only survived but thrived in conditions that made hardened space marines weep. "Have they responded to the cultural exchange packages?" she asked. "They have received them," confirmed, his mandibles clicking. "But their response was unusual. They sent back what their translation systems call rock music and something called mixed martial arts footage. Are still trying to understand the cultural significance." Through the Earth continued its rotation, showing swirling white clouds over brown and green continents. Somewhere down there, billions of these death world inhabitants went about their daily lives, completely unaware that the galaxy's most advanced civilizations were debating their future. The chamber doors hissed open, and Fleet Admiral Eth entered with his characteristic martial stride. His people, were among the galaxy's most respected warriors, their red scales and powerful frames inspiring respect across dozens of systems. Yet even he seemed troubled. "The preliminary scans are complete," he announced, his voice carrying the weight of bad news. "The humans are worse than we anticipated." Turned from the worse how. Their cities house millions of individuals in structures that rise hundreds of meters into toxic atmosphere. They consume the flesh of other creatures native to their world. Their entertainment involves physical combat, high-speed vehicle racing, and simulated warfare. They have over 200 distinct political entities that regularly engage in territorial disputes. A collective shudder passed through the assembled diplomats. The galaxy had seen savage species before, but none that had achieved technological advancement while retaining such primitive behaviors. "Most disturbing," Eth continued, "is their military capability. They have developed chemical explosives, projectile weapons, and delivery systems that could theoretically reach orbital targets. For a pre-contact civilization, their warfare technology is remarkably sophisticated." Science Advisor Ash, a floating jellyfish-like creature from the deep ocean world of Abyss Prime, pulsed with bioluminescent concern. "Their biology defies classification. Average individuals can survive impacts that would shatter bone, function in temperature ranges that span nearly 100 degrees, and demonstrate recovery rates from injury that our medical teams classify as impossible." "They are clearly dangerous," concluded Trade Representative, his golden skin reflecting the chamber's lighting. "But they also represent unprecedented opportunity. A species that can survive on a death world could open entire sectors of the galaxy currently considered uninhabitable." Nodded slowly. This was the dilemma that had brought together the Council's finest minds. Humanity represented both the greatest threat and the greatest asset the galaxy had encountered in over 1,000 years. "What does the integration protocol require?" she asked. Captain consulted his data pad. "Standard procedure for dangerous pre-contact species. Gradual introduction to galactic civilization, technological uplift under careful supervision, cultural re-education to eliminate savage behaviors, and eventually full citizenship once they demonstrate civilized conduct. The process typically takes between 50 to 200 years, added Ash, his tentacles swirling with mathematical precision. Species successfully integrated include the Battle Clans, the Void Hunters of 442, and the Crystal Singers of New Harmony. All required significant behavioral modification." Eth's scales rippled with skepticism. Those species were dangerous, yes, but they were not death. The humans evolved in conditions that would kill most of us within minutes. Their very existence violates our understanding of biological limits. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some representatives argued for immediate intervention, believing humanity's potential outweighed the risks. Others advocated for extended observation, hoping to better understand human psychology before making contact. A few suggested avoiding contact entirely, classifying Earth as a prohibited system. Finally called for order. As the Council's senior diplomat, the final decision rested with her. "We proceed with Integration Protocol 7, she announced. "Full contact, with offered technological and cultural advancement in exchange for voluntary submission to galactic law and customs." "And if they refuse?" asked him. His expression hardened. "Then we implement Protocol 12, forced compliance for the greater good of galactic stability." 3 days later, the first human delegation was brought aboard the Harmony. Ambassador Sarah led a team of Earth's finest diplomats, scientists, and military representatives. As they entered the main council chamber, their guided tour had already exposed them to wonders beyond their imagination. Artificial gravity, faster-than-light communication, energy-based medical healing, and materials science that seemed like magic. The humans walked with a confident stride that immediately caught the attention of every alien present. Where most new species showed proper humility when faced with the galaxy's advanced civilizations, these death displayed an unsettling lack of appropriate fear. "Welcome to the Galactic Council," began, her translation device converting her melodious language into perfectly comprehensible English. "We represent over 47 distinct civilizations spanning thousands of worlds. We have come to offer your species the greatest gift imaginable: membership in our peaceful galactic community." Ambassador listened politely as the presentation continued. The aliens outlined their technological superiority, their peaceful intentions, and their generous offer to help humanity abandon its savage ways in favor of enlightened civilization. "Your species shows remarkable potential," continued. "Your adaptability, resilience, and innovative thinking could contribute greatly to galactic advancement. However, your current social structures, violent entertainment, competitive economic systems, and individual-focused culture are incompatible with civilized society. We offer you educational systems that will help your people understand cooperation over competition, peaceful resolution over violent conflict, and collective harmony over individual achievement. Within a generation, your children will be indistinguishable from any other civilized galactic citizen." The presentation concluded with detailed plans for human re-education centers, technological dependency systems that would ensure compliance, and cultural modification programs designed to eliminate humanity's more troublesome traits. Ambassador waited for the translation to complete before responding. "Thank you for your generous offer," she said, her voice carrying across the chamber with surprising clarity. "We appreciate the time and effort you've put into this proposal. However, I'm afraid we must respectfully decline." A stunned silence filled the chamber. In over 1,000 years of first contact protocols, no species had ever refused the offer of galactic citizenship. "Perhaps you misunderstand," said carefully. "We are offering you technologies beyond your current comprehension. Faster-than-light travel, unlimited clean energy medical techniques that could extend human by centuries, and access to knowledge accumulated over millions of years." "We understand perfectly," replied. "And while we appreciate the offer, we're not interested in abandoning who we are to become something else." "But surely you can see the benefits of peaceful cooperation over violent competition," pressed Ash, his bioluminescent patterns flickering with confusion. "We see the benefits of both," answered Dr. James, Earth's lead. "Competition drives innovation. Conflict, properly managed, strengthens societies and individuals. Our savage traits, as you call them, are exactly what allowed us to survive on a death world and develop the technologies that brought us to your attention. You cannot seriously prefer your current existence over what we offer," Eth interjected, his warrior's instincts telling him something was very wrong with this conversation. "Our current existence produced Shakespeare and the International Space Station and the Internet, democracy and the scientific method," replied. "Your offer would eliminate all of that in favor of becoming docile members of a galactic collective." "You speak as though individual achievement matters more than collective harmony," observed, his golden skin paling with shock. "Sometimes it does," admitted. "Individual vision, individual courage, individual sacrifice, these things have driven every major advancement in human history. We're not willing to trade that for comfort and safety." The alien representatives exchanged looks of increasing alarm. These humans were not simply refusing civilization. They were actively arguing in favor of remaining savage. "Perhaps you need more time to consider," suggested, her diplomatic training struggling to process this unprecedented situation. "We've already considered it extensively," replied. "Our answer is no. We thank you for the offer, but we prefer to develop our own path forward." "Your own path?" Ed's scales rippled with disbelief. "You are a single world with primitive technology. We represent the accumulated wisdom and power of thousands of civilized worlds. You cannot seriously believe you can stand alone against the galaxy." "We're not standing against the galaxy," clarified. "We're simply choosing our own direction. If other civilizations want to trade with us as equals, establish diplomatic relations, or engage in cultural exchange, we're absolutely interested. But we won't accept subordination as the price of contact." "This is unprecedented," whispered to his colleagues. "No species has ever chosen isolation over integration." "They haven't chosen isolation," realized with growing horror. "They've chosen independence." The implications hit the chamber like a shockwave. A species that refused galactic civilization but possessed the capability to eventually develop their own advanced technology represented something the galaxy had never faced: a truly independent rival power. "You don't understand what you're refusing," said, her diplomatic mask beginning to slip. "Galactic civilization has stood for millions of years because every species accepts their place in the greater whole. Individual worlds cannot be allowed to develop independently. The chaos, the conflicts, the waste, it would destroy everything we've built." "Maybe it would," acknowledged. "Or maybe it would lead to something better. We're willing to take that risk." "We cannot allow it," Eth stated flatly. "The security of 47 civilizations cannot be jeopardized by one species' refusal to accept proper guidance." "Then we have a problem," replied, her friendly diplomatic tone never wavering despite the obvious threat. The human delegation was escorted to guest quarters while the council entered emergency session. For the first time in galactic history, they faced a species that possessed both the capability to become a major power and the absolute refusal to do so within accepted parameters. The debate raged for days. Military representatives argued for immediate subjugation before humanity could develop more advanced defenses. Scientists worried about the precedent of forced integration. Economists calculated the massive costs of prolonged conflict with a death world species. Finally, the decision was made. Humanity would be given one final chance to accept civilization. If they continued to refuse, they would be forcibly integrated for the greater good of galactic stability. Ambassador listened to the ultimatum with the same polite attention she had shown the original offer. "We appreciate your concern for galactic stability," she replied. "But our answer remains unchanged. We will not surrender our independence, our culture, or our right to choose our own path forward." "Then you have chosen conflict," said sadly. "We had hoped to welcome humanity as brothers. Instead, you will be integrated as subjects." "We understand," said simply. "We'll be returning to Earth now to inform our governments of your decision." As the human shuttle departed the Harmony, every alien aboard felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's environmental systems. They had just declared war on a species that thrived on a world that would kill them all. Somewhere in the back of their minds, a small voice wondered if they had just made the greatest mistake in galactic history. The emergency session of the United Nations Security Council had been running for 18 hours straight. Representatives from every major nation sat around the circular table while President Elizabeth Hayes of the United States addressed the room through secure video link from NORAD's underground command center. "Ladies, we've just been given an ultimatum by an alien coalition claiming to represent 47 civilizations," she began, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was reporting. "They want us to abandon our current way of life and accept their guidance in becoming what they call civilized." General Wei of the People's Republic of China leaned forward in his chair. "What exactly does this guidance entail?" Ambassador, who had returned from the alien ship just 6 hours earlier, consulted her notes. "Complete restructuring of our economic systems, elimination of competitive sports and entertainment, mandatory re-education programs for our children, technological dependency, that ensures we cannot develop weapons or spacecraft without their approval, and gradual replacement of national governments with galactic administrative districts. They want to turn us into pets, growled Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Worse than pets, corrected Doctor, who had accompanied the diplomatic mission. Pets are loved for their unique traits. They want to eliminate everything that makes us human. The Russian representative, foreign minister, pulled up a data pad. Our intelligence services have been monitoring increased electromagnetic activity throughout the solar system. These aliens have positioned at least 12 large vessels beyond Jupiter's orbit. Invasion fleet, asked President of Nigeria. Undoubtedly, confirmed Admiral Sarah, head of the newly formed United Earth Defense Initiative. Our deep space tracking stations detected their arrival 3 days ago. Each vessel is approximately 2 kilometers in length and emitting energy signatures that dwarf our most powerful nuclear reactors. The weight of the situation settled over the room like a suffocating blanket. Humanity faced a choice between cultural extinction and military annihilation by technologically superior forces. "Do we have any chance in direct military confrontation?" asked Chancellor of Germany. Admiral's expression was grim. "Against their current technology? Minimal. Our most advanced fighters can't operate in deep space, our missiles lack the range to reach their positions, and our satellites indicate they possess energy weapons capable of devastating planetary targets." "Then we surrender," said President of Japan quietly. "We accept their terms and hope our children can someday regain what we've lost." The room erupted in angry voices, but President Hayes called for order. "Before we make any decision, I think we need to hear from someone who actually met these aliens," she said. "Ambassador, what was your impression of their psychology?" Stood slowly, gathering her thoughts. "They genuinely believe they're offering us something wonderful. From their perspective, they're saving us from ourselves, but that's exactly what makes them dangerous." "Explain," requested President Singh of India. "They've never encountered a species like us," continued. "Every other race they've contacted has been either so primitive that advanced technology seemed like magic, or so environmentally limited that galactic citizenship was obviously beneficial. They can't comprehend why anyone would choose struggle over comfort, competition over cooperation, independence over security. They're used to dealing with grateful subjects, not reluctant equals," added Doctor. "When we refused their offer, it wasn't just surprising to them, it was incomprehensible. They literally cannot understand our position." General Wei tapped his fingers on the table, "Which means negotiation is impossible." "Exactly," confirmed. "They won't accept any compromise because they truly believe their way is objectively superior. From their viewpoint, we're either ignorant children who need guidance or dangerous savages who need control." The silence stretched for long minutes before Prime Minister spoke again. "Then we fight." "With what?" demanded President. "They have faster-than-light travel and energy weapons. We have chemical rockets and nuclear missiles." "We have more than that," Admiral interjected, pulling up a new display. "In the last 72 hours, every major military and scientific organization on Earth has been working on this problem. We may not have their technology, but we have something they don't." "Which is," asked Chancellor, "experience fighting in impossible conditions against superior enemies." The display showed a series of historical battles. Thermopylae, where 300 Spartans held off hundreds of thousands of Persians. The Battle of Britain, where outnumbered RAF pilots defeated the German Luftwaffe. Stalingrad, where human determination overcame overwhelming odds. "Every human military tradition is based on one simple principle," continued. "When facing a superior enemy, you don't fight them where they're strong. You force them to fight where you're strong." "And where are we strong?" asked President. "Here," said Doctor, head of NASA's Xenobiology Department, as she entered the conference room carrying an armload of research data. "On Earth, in conditions that would kill most galactic citizens within minutes." She activated the room's holographic display system, showing detailed scans of the alien ship interiors. "During our diplomatic visit, our hidden sensors collected extensive environmental data," she explained. "The aliens maintain their ships at a constant 22 degrees Celsius, with filtered atmosphere artificial gravity set at approximately 60% of Earth normal, and electromagnetic shielding that blocks most natural radiation. They've created a sterile bubble around themselves, realized General Wei. Exactly. They're not adapted for real combat conditions. Their warriors, these, are physically impressive but have never fought in variable gravity, extreme temperatures, toxic atmospheres, or unpredictable weather. They're used to controlled environments. President Hayes leaned forward. Are you suggesting we can actually win a ground war? I'm suggesting they can't, Doctor replied. Their equipment is designed for their comfort zone. Their tactics assume environmental control. Their soldiers have never faced an enemy that can function in conditions that would incapacitate them. But they won't land ground forces, pointed out Foreign Minister. They'll bombard us from orbit. Will they? Asked thoughtfully. Remember, they want to integrate us, not exterminate us. They need human populations to survive for their plan to work. Orbital bombardment defeats their own purpose. Admiral was studying the tactical display with growing excitement. They'll have to come down here eventually, and when they do, they'll be fighting on our terms. Even assuming that's true, President Singh interjected. What about their technological advantages? Energy weapons, advanced materials, superior communications. Dr. Michael, no relation to the ambassador, entered the room carrying a large metallic case. As head of DARPA's Emergency Technology Initiative, he had spent the last 3 days working around the clock. We've been analyzing the equipment samples our diplomatic team managed to acquire, he announced, opening the case to reveal several alien devices. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it's also incredibly specialized. He held up what appeared to be a communication device. This represents computing power that surpasses our best systems, but it only functions within specific electromagnetic parameters. Introduce random radio interference, and it becomes useless. Next came a fragment of alien metal. This material is stronger than anything we can produce, but it becomes brittle in temperatures below -40 Celsius. It's optimized for controlled environments. Their energy weapons are devastating, he continued, but they require massive power sources and can't function in Earth's electromagnetic field without constant calibration. They're designed for space combat, not planetary warfare. You're saying their advantages disappear in Earth conditions? Asked Prime Minister. I'm saying their advantages become disadvantages, Doctor replied. They've had millions of years to perfect technology for controlled environments. We've had millions of years to adapt to chaos. The implications were staggering. Humanity's technological primitiveness might actually be an advantage in planetary combat. What do we need to prepare? Asked President Hayes. Admiral activated a global map showing military installations, research facilities, and population centers. First, we evacuate non-essential personnel from major cities. If they do attempt orbital bombardment, we minimize casualties. Second, we disperse our military assets and move our command structures underground or into natural cave systems. Third, we prepare for guerrilla warfare on a global scale. Guerrilla warfare against aliens? President looked skeptical. It's worked against superior enemies throughout history, replied. The key is making occupation too costly to maintain while preventing them from achieving their political objectives. Which are, asked Chancellor. Control of human population centers and infrastructure, answered Doctor. They need our people alive and our basic civilization intact for their integration plan to work. If we deny them both, they face an impossible choice: abandon their goals or commit genocide. And if they choose genocide? Asked President Singh quietly. The room fell silent as the ultimate stakes became clear. Ambassador finally spoke. Then we die as humans rather than live as something else. The vote was unanimous. 3 days later, the first alien shuttles entered Earth's atmosphere. The invasion had begun. Admiral watched from Deep Six, the emergency command center buried 3 kilometers beneath the Rocky Mountains, as alien craft descended toward major population centers. The aliens had apparently decided on a swift decapitation strike, targeting government facilities and military installations in hopes of forcing immediate surrender. They were in for a surprise. All units, this is Deep Six Command, she broadcast on secured channels. Operation Homecoming is now active. Repeat, Operation Homecoming is now active. Across the globe, hidden military assets came online. In urban areas that appeared to be defenseless, camouflaged weapon systems emerged from buildings and underground installations. Mountain caves revealed missile batteries that had been constructed in frantic secrecy over the past week. Desert installations that looked like ordinary research stations activated surface-to-air defense networks. The aliens had expected terrified civilians and token military resistance. Instead, they encountered a coordinated defense network that had been designed specifically to counter their observed capabilities. The first alien shuttle to reach New York City found itself under fire from weapons that shouldn't have existed. Electromagnetic pulse devices, originally designed for disabling enemy electronics, proved remarkably effective against alien computers. Chemical explosives, primitive by galactic standards, turned out to be devastating against vessels designed for controlled environments. Most importantly, the aliens discovered that humans could fight effectively in conditions that left galactic soldiers helpless. The Battle of Manhattan lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 3 alien shuttles lay in smoking ruins while human casualties numbered in the dozens rather than the anticipated millions. The invaders had learned their first lesson about fighting death on their home ground. But the aliens were not fools. After the initial setback, they began adapting their tactics. If direct assault was ineffective, they would try siege warfare. If humans could fight in Earth conditions, they would change Earth conditions. The real war was about to begin. 6 months into the war, Fleet Admiral Eth stood in the command center of the dreadnought Galactic Unity, staring at reports that every military doctrine he had ever learned. His red scales had dulled to a sickly brown color, and his once-proud bearing had been worn down by constant defeats. "Show me the casualty figures again," he growled to his aide. Captain's mandibles clicked nervously as he displayed the holographic data. "We have lost 47 shuttles, 12 frigates, and over 3,000 Marines. Human military losses are estimated at fewer than 500 personnel." "How is this possible?" Eth demanded. "We have energy weapons that can level mountains. We have armor that can deflect their most powerful explosives. We have centuries of military experience." "The humans are not fighting a conventional war," replied Science Advisor Ash, his bioluminescent patterns flickering with confusion. "They ignore our strengths and exploit weaknesses we did not know we possessed." The tactical display showed the current state of the invasion. What should have been a swift occupation had become a grinding nightmare. Every human city the aliens thought they had captured turned out to contain hidden tunnel systems, concealed weapons caches, and civilian populations that could transform into guerrilla fighters within minutes. "Their capital city of Washington appears completely under our control," reported. "Yet yesterday, our administrative center was destroyed by explosives that somehow appeared inside a building we had thoroughly searched." "They are using their own infrastructure against us," Ash observed. "Their maintenance tunnels, subway systems, and utility networks provide concealment and mobility we cannot track." But the real problem went deeper than tactical surprises. The aliens had discovered that occupying a death world required constant environmental support that made their forces vulnerable. Their troopers needed sealed armor to survive Earth's atmosphere, which limited their mobility. Their equipment required frequent in Earth's electromagnetic environment, which exposed support teams to attack. Their supply lines stretched back to ships that had to maintain safe orbital distances, which gave human forces time to plan ambushes. "Sir," interrupted communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the human settlement they call Chicago." "Put it through," Eth ordered. The holographic display showed a human male in military uniform, standing in what appeared to be a ruined office building. Behind him, the sounds of distant explosions could be heard. "This is Colonel James Mitchell of the United Earth Defense Forces," the human said calmly. "I'm calling to discuss terms." Eth felt a surge of relief. Finally, these stubborn death were ready to surrender. "I am Fleet Admiral Eth, commander of the Galactic Integration Force," he replied. "Are you prepared to accept civilization?" "Actually, Admiral, I was calling to offer you terms for withdrawal." The alien command staff stared in disbelief. After 6 months of devastating losses, this human was offering them terms. "You cannot be serious," Eth said. You are a single world facing the combined might of galactic civilization. Are we? Mitchell asked. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like galactic civilization is getting its ass kicked by a bunch of primitive death. The casual profanity shocked the aliens almost as much as the sentiment. Mitchell continued without waiting for a response. Let me break this down for you, Admiral. You've been trying to occupy Earth for 6 months. In that time, you've managed to control exactly 0% of our planet. Every building you occupy, we take back. Every position you fortify, we destroy. Every advantage you think you have, we turn against you. Our forces are merely adapting to local conditions, Eth replied stiffly. Galactic military doctrine allows for extended integration periods. Your forces are dying, Mitchell said bluntly, and they're dying because you made a fundamental error in judgment. Which is, you assumed that advanced technology equals military superiority. But here's the thing about us, Death. We've been fighting our entire planet since we crawled out of the oceans. Every day of our evolution has been a battle against impossible odds. We don't win fights by being stronger or better equipped. We win fights by being tougher, smarter, and more stubborn than anything trying to kill us. The human gestured to the destruction visible through the broken windows behind him. You want to know why Chicago is still under human control despite being occupied for 3 months? Because the moment your shuttles landed, 60,000 civilians disappeared into systems you don't even know exist. They're living in subway tunnels, abandoned buildings, and underground complexes that were built during our Cold War. They're eating food from caches we've been preparing since we knew you were coming. They're communicating through networks that don't depend on technology you can disrupt. Impossible, muttered Ash. Civilian populations cannot sustain combat operations without proper infrastructure. Civilian populations can't, Mitchell agreed. But we're not civilians anymore. We're 60 million armed resistance fighters spread across every continent, every climate zone, and every type of terrain your people can't handle. Ed's tactical mind was beginning to grasp the true scope of the problem. They weren't fighting an army, they were fighting an entire species. Moreover, Mitchell continued, every day you remain on Earth, we're learning. We've reverse-engineered your communication protocols, figured out your tactical patterns, and identified weaknesses in your equipment that your own engineers apparently missed. To demonstrate his point, Mitchell held up what appeared to be a crude but functional energy weapon clearly built from salvaged alien components. This little beauty was put together by a 12-year-old girl in Detroit using parts from your own shuttles. She calls it a bug zapper because it shorts out your armor's environmental systems. We've built about 10,000 of them so far. The implications sent chills through the alien command staff. Not only were humans adapting to galactic technology, they were improving it for local conditions. You have 2 choices, Admiral, Mitchell said, his voice becoming deadly serious. You can continue this futile occupation attempt and watch your forces get ground down by an enemy that gets stronger every day you stay here. Or you can acknowledge that you made a mistake and withdraw to negotiate a real solution. The Galactic Council cannot allow a species to remain independent, Eth replied automatically. It sets a dangerous precedent. Admiral, you're worried about precedent while your soldiers are dying in Earth sewers, Mitchell pointed out. At some point, practical reality has to override political theory. The transmission ended, leaving the alien command staff in stunned silence. He's bluffing, said finally. Humans cannot sustain this level of resistance indefinitely. Can't they? Ash pulsed thoughtfully. Every piece of data we've collected suggests that humans actually thrive under adversity. Their historical records show that their greatest technological and social advances occurred during periods of extreme hardship. You're suggesting they're actually getting stronger because we're attacking them? Ed's scales rippled with disbelief. I'm suggesting that we've created the exact conditions under which human civilization excels, Ash replied. External threat, resource scarcity, technological pressure, and existential motivation. We've essentially given them the perfect environment for rapid evolution. Eth studied the tactical displays with growing horror as the truth sank in. Every military victory they achieved seemed to generate 3 new problems. Every human position they captured was retaken within days. Every piece of technology they deployed was countered by human innovations that shouldn't have been possible. Sir, interrupted, We're receiving priority communications from 17 different council worlds. What do they want? They're reporting unusual activity in their systems. Unknown vessels conducting reconnaissance, strange energy signatures, unauthorized mining operations on asteroids. Eth felt his blood temperature drop. Show me. The holographic display revealed the impossible. Human spacecraft, clearly built using stolen or reverse-engineered alien technology, had appeared in a dozen different star systems. They were crude, obviously improvised, but they were functional and they were everywhere. How long have humans had faster-than-light capability? He asked quietly. Unknown, sir, replied. These vessels weren't detected until they began active operations. Active operations. Intelligence gathering, resource collection, and what appears to be establishing hidden bases on uninhabited worlds. The scope of the disaster was becoming clear. While the galactic fleet had been focused on occupying Earth, humanity had apparently stolen enough technology to begin expanding into space. Not only had the invasion failed to control the humans, it had given them the tools to become a genuine galactic power. Sir, continued, Ambassador is requesting immediate communication. The diplomatic channel opened to show in the council chambers, surrounded by representatives from dozens of alien species. All of them looked terrified. Admiral Eth, she began, the council has received a communication from the human government. What do they want now? Eth asked wearily. They're not asking for anything, replied. They're making a declaration. The display shifted to show Ambassador, who appeared remarkably calm for someone whose planet was under invasion. Greetings to the Galactic Council, she began. 6 months ago, you offered humanity membership in your galactic civilization in exchange for surrendering our independence and accepting re-education to eliminate our savage traits. We declined your generous offer. When we refused to abandon our identity, you declared us a threat to galactic stability and launched a military intervention to force our compliance. This action has provided us with valuable insights into both your capabilities and your intentions. We now understand that the Galactic Council views any independent development as a threat to their control. We also understand that your technological superiority exists primarily in controlled environments and breaks down when faced with adaptive opposition. Pause to consult notes before continuing. Therefore, we are making the following declaration. Humanity claims the right to independent development and expansion. We reject any external authority over human civilization and will resist any attempt to impose such authority. Furthermore, we are establishing the Human Colonial Initiative. Any world deemed suitable for human colonization will be claimed under human sovereignty. Any attempt to interfere with human expansion will be considered an act of war. We're not asking for permission, Council members. We're informing you of decisions that have already been made. The transmission ended, leaving the council chambers in chaos. They're declaring independence from galactic civilization, breathed. They're declaring war on the galaxy, corrected Eth. No, said a new voice. Science coordinator had been studying human behavior patterns since the war began. They're declaring that the galaxy has to adapt to them instead of the other way around. The aliens stared at tactical displays showing human vessels appearing in dozens of systems, human resistance groups that grew stronger with each passing day, and casualty reports that every military doctrine they knew. What do we do? Asked. For the first time in galactic history, no one had an answer. 3 days later, Admiral stood in the rebuilt Pentagon, looking at reports from human scouts throughout the galaxy. The war that had begun as an alien attempt to civilize humanity had become something else entirely. Ma'am, reported Colonel Mitchell, back from his successful defense of Chicago, we've established contact with resistance movements on 12 different worlds. Resistance movements. Turns out we're not the only species that resented galactic guidance, Mitchell explained. The difference is that other species didn't have the capability to fight back effectively, until now. Studied the intelligence reports with growing amazement. Human technology, crude but effective, was being shared with alien species that had been forcibly integrated into galactic civilization centuries ago. Entire worlds were beginning to question why they had accepted subordination to the Council. The galaxy is about to change in ways they never anticipated, she observed. Yes, ma'am, Mitchell agreed. Turns out that when you show people they don't have to accept chains, some of them decide they'd rather be free. Outside, construction crews were building new spacecraft based on stolen alien designs and human innovations. In research facilities around the world, scientists were developing technologies that combined galactic knowledge with human ingenuity. In military bases across Earth, soldiers were training for campaigns among the stars. The aliens had come to Earth offering civilization. Instead, they had unleashed humanity upon the galaxy. And the galaxy would never be the same.